Apologies. Greetings and welcome to Conversations with Tony Mobley. Today is February 4th of 2026. This is episode 5 of Conversation with Tony Mobley. This conversation uses TV broadcast software Mimo Live and Zoom. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Clyde Lopez Waterman. Our current team includes Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, Mickey McAture, and we want to say thank you, sir. Thank you, team. We also have additional support from time to time from JJ McKenna and Tamara Pinka. ConversationWithTonyMobley.com is our website, and feel free to watch our content on the website as well as on YouTube. We also have, courtesy of Alex Lindsay in 090, a platform called Mukana where you can ask questions. You can ask questions, and those questions can be voted up or down. If you choose not to use Mukana, well, you can ask your questions in the YouTube chat. And we just want to let you know that we started this year with theater professional and college professor Jessica Lopez Barkle. Then we had Ken Jordan. We had the importance of quality and using AI by Miss Roz McNulty, a digital magician in fashion meeting the future. Last week, we had Gary B. Jr., free show evangelist, and on Conversations with Tony Mobley for today, we have two of the trio that make up the Last Angry DJ show. We have Mitchell Hill and Mark Giuliani celebrating 100 shows as of this past Sunday. And we want to say welcome to you both for being here today on Conversations with Tony Mobley.
Thank you, Tony.
Welcome,
it's
gentlemen.
a pleasure to be here for my second time, by the way. It's been a couple of years since you and I had an interview, which was fun. I enjoyed that. But to be here and to be recognized for our 300th episode of The Last Angry DJ is quite the privilege for us. And I, speaking on behalf of the team that does it, which is Alex Knight and Mark Giuliani, who's here, and myself, we're very happy to be here. We're very happy to answer any questions or enlighten folks about the quality of great talk shows like yours, Tony. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you. Mark, if you want to say a few words, feel free.
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm privileged. I came in late to the Last Angry DJ and helped out with reading the questions, everything. But it's really I'm helping by sitting in for Alexander Knight, who does all the hard work on the back end, produces the show, does all the cutting on the fly live, and is even able to have a conversation with Mitch. So I'm just here to help Mitch answer questions, and he doesn't need any help. But anyway, thank you for having me, Tony.
Thank you both for again being here. And so we're going to get right to it. So the very first question is, gentlemen, please share who you are. And we're going to start with Mark.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Mark Giuliani. I'm an architect. I am president of Giuliani Associates Architects, which is a firm that designs anything from a little 200 square foot kiosk to projects that are for terminal buildings, hangars, maintenance facilities that are hundreds of thousands of square feet in size. And I also happen to own two radio stations. DTD Media is the company, and the stations are the Talk of Delmarva, which are WGMD 92.7 and WUSX 98.5. And they're in Rehoboth Beach and Delaware and Seaford, Delaware.
Wow. Mitch?
Thank you, Tony. I'm the last angry DJ, and the obvious reason for that is I was thinking of doing a podcast. A lot of my, former compatriots in the radio business have said, "Yeah, let's do a podcast and recapture the glory of the '80s. That was the golden age of broadcasting." And I was like, I don't want to go on there and be, just another DJ reliving his ancient heritage way back in the '80s and the '70s. And so I kind of stayed away from it. But then along came office hours and what that brought to the table. And I learned a lot about quality sound, quality video, backgrounds, all the thing it takes to do a show like yours, Tony. I sort of got the itch that I had to do something. And I told my business associate that I wanted to do a program about what it was like to have radio back in the early days. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I get it. You're the last angry DJ because you got a beef about the way things are now versus the way it was way back when." And the first guy to raise his hand and say he wanted to be on the program was Alexander Knight, who you probably recognize from Office Hours and After Hours. And he's from Vancouver or Port Coquitlam, Canada. And Alex raised his hand and said, "I want in on that." I was very pleased to have him come in because Alex is a technical genius, and he does all the TDing and switching and technical stuff. And he also represents the more current outlook of what's going on in the media, podcasting, vodcasting, whatever you want to call it. So we've got the odd couple here. We've got me from the 70s and 80s, 90s, representing the old days of radio. We've got Alexander, who's representing more of what's going on today. And there's a little bit of rub there back and forth. And thank goodness we have Mark Giuliani, who's here being represented to referee the resulting mayhem that happens with me pronouncing pronouns incorrectly or making references that nobody remembers or understands. Mark catches a little bit of that, and Alexander just scratches his head and wonders why I continue to do the show. So my job is to be the host and be the last angry DJ, and that's the catchy name that we're using. And we've gotten away with 300 episodes. Am I counting right here, Mark? 300 episodes over 2 years.
Well, we just did our 100th, so I'm confused.
I'm also 71 years old. Did I remind everybody of that? I might not. It's 3 years. It's our third year.
100
and it's
shows.
100 episodes.
And I'm questioning the little bit of friction.
You think a little bit, or am I underestimating the
You're
the
underestimating it.
See, that's why Mark is as good as he is. He's always there with a quick bon mot or something to make it make sense. And plus, Mark makes this face every time I say something that's a little edgy. And Mark is not going to do it. Okay, so you have to come to our show to see that, Tony. But we make the Last Angry DJ, and we do it once a week live, like you do on your show. We do it on Sundays via Zoom onto YouTube, and then it gets turned into an audio podcast and a video podcast.
I have been to your show. I've been at your show the last 3 weeks, and so I have enjoyed it. And I've asked a few questions from time to time.
He's asked a few questions, and he's chatted in the chat. He's been right in there with the others.
I
Do you find it an interesting show, Tony? Enough to to hold your interest?
Yes, because like you, I'm an older person. I'll be 68 years old this month. So um,
Congratulations, young man.
yeah, so I'm only behind you by 3 years, right?
71, or I might be
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
I've got to check with Mark. Mark, am I 71? Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
So before we go to the next question, I just want to say to those who are listening on YouTube and those who might be in Mukana, this is a great opportunity to ask a question of a veteran DJ who has been on the radio for a number of years and an actual radio station owner. So you want to take advantage of this opportunity to ask questions. So please put your questions in. I only have these great guests for less than an hour. So please ask your questions. And we're
Yeah,
going to go to
some of the
the,
questions that people like to ask are, what was it like back when we actually played records? We were disc jockeys. We actually spun records and we actually played tapes. Nowadays, it's all automated in computer, and it might be all AI for all I know. So just if you wonder what that was like, or what was going on back in the day when radio was in the 80s or the 70s. I'm sorry, Tony, to interrupt, but I just want to put some context to what questions could be asked. I'm the old guy. Mark is not quite as old as I am. So, and you are not as quite as old as I am. So there we go. I'm the elder statement here in the building.
okay. Next question is, how has your family supported you on your journey?
Give that to Mark.
And
I think he's the one with the big family that needs to justify all the time and money he spends on it.
I am very fortunate. I have a wife who's very understanding and who participates in the family life much more than I do because of my distractions with work. But she's understanding and she understands the challenges of running two small businesses and trying to juggle many different things.
Yeah,
I
and let
want
me
you,
say, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
no, I want you to thank her so much for sharing you with us this evening. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I was just
Mitch.
going to say, Mark's too much of a gentleman to mention this, but his interest in broadcasting and radio and owning two radio stations comes out of a pure passion for broadcasting. He's not a rich man doing this, and I think that that might add to the stress in the family life. But Mark puts a lot of effort into doing it, and of all the owners I've ever met. Mark gets involved in all aspects of, including being on the air or fixing a transmitter or shoveling the sidewalk when there's too much snow, getting into the broadcast building. So, Mark, I recognize your passion, and that drives me to really want you and appreciate you being on our program.
Well, thank you, Mitch. And it really it comes down to having great people that are part of the team. So I couldn't do it without Walt and Sandy at the radio station and everybody else, all the people on air. Mike in the morning and Jake and MJ. They are all great and they all pull together. They know it's a small firm and it's a family run business. And at the architecture firm, I've got great partners here, Clark and Tim and Connor and Greg and a whole bunch of people that have worked for many years here. That's the interesting thing is that most of the people that we have on both at both companies have been there for years, and
Sure.
they all know that how to make the things run together very well.
And if I can answer your question, Tony, I'm single. I am not married. I don't have kids. I do have a very excitable dog. I call him version 3.0. He's a Welsh Pembroke Corgi, and he's got nothing to say in the matter. He's right downstairs in his little crate right now. So he's not complaining about my time spent here. In fact, he likes the idea that I'm not messing with him while I'm doing this programs.
Okay. I'm just curious. Before I go to the next question, I'm just curious. So I was thinking about you guys, being on the show today, and I'm just wondering, right now in our guest bedroom in the closet, I have a 6-disc CD player. I have a turntable. I have my amplifier. I have my speakers. And they've been here. I just moved them. I've been here in this house now for 10 years. And they're in that closet and they've been in that closet. Do you guys have a similar situation?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm once a radio guy, always a radio guy. I'm not spinning records, but if you go to a full shot, and thank you, right behind me, what you're seeing here is a literal broadcast studio in this room. I mean, I've got a mixer right here that runs radio stuff. I've got a music library that involves every top 100 song from the Billboard Hot 100 since the 60s. And that's available there. So once in a while, I get the old radio vibe going, and I start spinning and playing. The strange thing is that a lot of guys that I talk to that are like voice tracking or working as oldies disc jockeys, they're not really interested in hiring me at my age. For some reason, they think that I've lost all the cultural contact that I might have with younger people. But let's face it, the radio audience out there is getting older every day, and I would refer to Mark to answer that more precisely. But I'd say kids aren't listening to the radio. It's more 30 and above. Is that a fair statement, Mark?
I think it's 30 and above right now, but I think we're starting to see a resurgence of people because if you look at the statistics, talk is becoming much more popular than it was over music. So a lot of the generation coming up now in their 20s are listening to much more spoken word than they are listening to music. So I think radio is coming back, especially talk radio and community radio. And Tony, to answer your question, running two small businesses, I don't get a lot of free time to listen to the radio. And when I do, I have to be listening to my radio stations to make sure they're running right. So I'm pretty boring when it comes to listening to music.
Okay. So, what is it like to have 100 shows under your belt, Mitch?
It's a big surprise, frankly. When I started it, I did the deal with Alex and Mark here, with the understanding that as long as we had something to contribute to the whole radio media world out there, and we do explore all aspects of it, positive and negative. We talk about relevance of AM radio and whether or not it's going to survive FM and what it should be doing formatically, what it's like to be a big time radio DJ in today's world. We talk about all those things, and as long as people are listening, and as long as people are asking questions about it, we like the idea we could continue. I did not think it would last this long. And Tony, you know as well as anybody that it's very hard to monetize. I didn't go into this expecting to be paid massive amounts of money. I'm no Joe Rogan here, but it would be nice to get a free Arby's sandwich once in a while, which we do, or a beer, or one of those little Patreon gimmicks with the coffee or whatever. We do get a little bit of that, but are we going to make thousands, millions of dollars doing this? Probably not. There's way too many better programs out there that are more engaging, like yours. You've got to be, buying a giant, mansion there in Noonan, Georgia, with all the money you're making from doing conversations with Tony Mobley, right?
You know what? That's so funny, Mitch. I mean, that's hilarious. My wife looked at me the other day when I said that at some point we'll, generate something, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm still waiting."
Well, Tony,
So,
what do you get out of it? I mean, do you feel that are you surprised you've gone on this long? Because you're what, 3 years into doing conversations?
we're probably four
Okay.
years, and we've had I've had a couple of medical issues that have pulled me out for several months at a time. But this is probably from the first show to right now. We're probably at about 4.5 years. Not yeah, I want to say about at least 4 years. And I talked about this last night. We actually were guests on the Office Hour show last night, and we were special guests last night. And so, I'll share what I shared last night. Conversation with Tony Mully was originally was created because we were actually trying to help somebody else do a sort of lab in the office hours community to help a politician who was trying to run for office statewide in Georgia. And we were actually trying to help him be more effective on social media. And he was really enthusiastic about us helping him. And I grabbed all these people in office hours and asked to help him get elected. And then at the last minute, he decided that he was going to go the traditional route. Won't talk about the outcome of his election, but I will say that all of these people that I had galvanized to help him said, well, maybe you need to do something with all these people that you've gathered around to help this other person. And so Conversation with Tony Mobley is really about trying to help people, I use this word my wife doesn't like, transparent, in that it's really about helping regular people embrace this technology that was shared during the office hours community. The professionals, the video professionals and theater professionals and the audio professionals, and we're having such a great time in office hours in terms of solving problems and issues. And for me, it was problematic that, regular people like teachers, church people, did not have the wherewithal to have a place where they could gather together and get the information that was being shared in office hours. So I like to think in the beginning I was trying to do a little uh, regular version of office hours for regular people, and then we sort of mushroomed into other conversations. And this is sort of the key point that I like to share about Conversation with Tony Mobley, is that we think that all people are important, and we think that the things that separate us is for a lack of conversation. And that if you can have a conversation, most of the time you'll find that you have things that are in common, and that you can work on those things that you have in common and not just be separated because you have a disagreement. And so,
It's so true. I mean, it's so good
yeah.
to hear you say that, because people just can't sit down and talk anymore without running into politics or religion or some stumbling block. It used to be we could work those differences out. And you are so mellow and so good at your show. It leads me to believe there's some hope for conversations that continue beyond the people that have disagreements about things. And that's so important in today's world, which is missing from so much. I mean, anybody who watches any TV or listens to the radio, you don't always hear both sides of a conversation. With all respect to Mark and your talk stations, Tony seems to be towing the line exactly what he's talking about.
Well, thank you, Mitchell, for that. Mark, I'm just curious to me, architecture is a little bit different than having a radio station. I was just curious to why you went
Well,
that way.
do you want to hear that long story? How much longer do we have in the show?
Come on,
So
you can share your thoughts with
so
us.
in 1980, I'm going to go back a few years. There was a station named WLRB, Lewis Rehoboth Beach, and my father and a few of his friends got together some money because one of the friends used to work for Walter Cronkite in radio, and then he went on to become an ABC News per anchor and worked at the local Washington D.C. AB News station that at the time was owned by ABC News. And so they got together and they purchased what was WLRB and renamed it WGMD. And over the years, they bought more radio stations and grew. And then towards the early 2000s, one of them passed away. So they started to consolidate all the operations, and they still had the one station that they started out with, WGMD. And in my high school days, I ran the local TV station and did stage crew and was the stage manager. And so I had an interest in all of that, but didn't say anything. I stayed quiet until one day I got a call. Hey, can you help us with the radio station? And I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to survive in architecture. How am I going to help you with a radio station? And I don't know the first thing about a radio station, but David, who was the partner that worked for Cronkite, took me under his wing in his 80s. She told me all about radio and the history of radio and how it worked and why they were talk radio. And so that's kind of how I wound up getting involved. And then I, having a business background, I said, well, we can't do this all with one station. We need to have some more stations to offset the overhead and all the expenditures that we have to pay just to run one station when you don't need that many more to run a second station. So we started to add stations, and that's where we are today. And today I see a great opportunity between radio and digital. And really, architecture isn't that far away from the radio industry or the TV industry, because when you go after big federal jobs, you have to do these presentations. And a lot of times they're 2 hours long. You get up, you do a presentation for an hour, you leave the room for half an hour, and you come back and do questions and answers. So you do a lot of prep work, a lot of testing, and it's a lot like any other production, whether that's radio or TV. You just have the visuals. So I found an interest to it, and it's there. So I got the bite, I guess. Right, Mitch?
Well, once radio's in your blood, it's there. I mean, I'd love to go back on the radio again, but the question is, what can I contribute to the business that I haven't already done that? And just because I was a big time DJ in the 70s and 80s, working in Philadelphia at a big radio station, doesn't mean that I'm just as relevant today. So I take a vicarious interest in what it is that Mark does, and I also respect him for having the optimism and passion for the business to continue running it, because he's certainly not doing it as a giant moneymaker for himself. So why don't you just declare that you're a NPR
nonprofit?
type station? Nonprofit, yeah. Go 501c, my friend, and maybe at least you'll get a free sandwich out of it once in a while.
I can do nonprofit without all that paperwork.
See, that's the thing.
No, but in seriousness, I'd like to say this about the show, about The Last Angry DJ. What makes that show very popular, I think, is the fact that you have multiple generations. You've got Alexander, who understands the digital side of things, how they work today, understands Mimo Live, how to cut the show, the back end. You have Mitch, who understands where radio came from and was part of radio and has a great ability for continuity, filling the airspace. If you walk around a radio station, as soon as there's silence, everybody's head pops up. What's wrong? What's broken? What's not working? And so, and that's been drilled into Mitch over years of being on radio. So he's very talented at keeping the conversation going, which is not easy, especially if you have a caller, or let's say you have a guest that doesn't show up. That happens in radio quite frequently. So now the host has to figure out, what am I going to say to fill the next 10-minute air time until we get to the break. So they have to fill that segment. And Mitch is very good at that. I've seen him do it many times on the show, when you might not see it if you're watching it because you don't know what's going on in the background. When you're on the background, you're like, oh boy, I hope Mitch can carry this out, because I really don't have anything to add to it.
Wow. And then that really brings us to the question that you guys have already been sharing, that we want to talk about your experiences in the radio industry. And I'm just curious. You mentioned Mark. You mentioned Mimo Live, and Mimo Live is also the software that we use for Conversation with Tony Mobley, and it's also being used for The Last Angry DJ. And in the pre-show conversation, you mentioned that your radio stations are using it as well. And without getting into the technical pieces to it, why, of all the softwares, did you make the decision to use Mimo Live as part of the infrastructure for your stations?
So let me take a step back and tell you kind of how we got to Mimo Live. And that is that uh, from watching Office Hours, from being part of the Office Hours family, I tried to figure out, well, how can radio become more interactive? The most interactive form of radio I know of is talk radio, spoken word, where you're taking calls, you're communicating with the audience. But even then, it's one on one, it's the host and the caller. With the addition of Mukana to radio, we've been able to now have the listeners be able to chat in real time. The host sees the chat. They can ask questions. So the guests come in and there's a whole list of questions to ask them. So it's really made radio a lot more interactive. So we decided once we did that to take it to the next step. So every Friday we go live to uh, to our website. We take the embed code and just put it on our website. But we do a 3-hour morning show called Your News Talk America. We've got great guests that come in. You will notice them, and if you've watched any TV, you'll see a lot of them have been on the different TV news stations, and they come and they like our radio station because they're like, this is like old radio. This is the way it used to be. Yet we're adding the technology, so we've added the video, and we started out with an ATEM, and then we grew in. There were some things we couldn't do with the ATEM that we wanted to do, so we tried some other software, and we wound up on Mimo Live, and that's who the technical director, Julia, really appreciates the fact that we have Mimo Live because she's really taken on to it and she's learned how to use it. And so I mean, you have it on this show, you have it on The Last Angry DJ, we have it on Your News Talk America, and I think it's just growing because it's a flexible piece of software, and combine it with an ATEM, and you have a lot of power.
And we have a great relationship with Oliver Breidenbach, who's the co-founder of Mimo Live, and he gives us a lot of input and output. Alex, and it's really Alex's and Oliver's, job to make these things work together. And as you've commented on, a lot of what we do here is a side runoff, or whatever the proper term would be, from what we learned on Office Hours. Good sound, good lighting, good camera. All of the things that we're doing here on your show have a spin-off from what Office Hours was teaching with their ruthless reviews and other programs that they would do. And Alex, Lindsay had a lot to do with the quality of our programming and what we have. And Mimo is one of those directions that we've taken. So we've set a standard. And a standard is based on what Office Hours does, and I think that standard extends into your show, Tony, and into our program also.
Absolutely. We have a question from Clark Lopez Waterman. Do you broadcast The Last Angry DJ to the air?
I'll leave that to Mark. Mark, what do you think? Should we go to air with our program? We do not right now.
Well, I don't know if he means over the air, like,
let's say radio,
like Rabbit airs, but to radio, we could. We'd have to implement some things. We'd have to do, breaks every once in a while for the ads to run to pay for the station. But yeah, it could be done very easily. Right now, we're just doing it to YouTube. You have the podcast too. Sorry, all the podcasts.
Yeah, no problem. Last year, we had the opportunity for Conversation with Tony Mobley to be on the radio. Taylor Sunderhouse was simulcast broadcasting Conversation with Tony Mobley on local radio in Cincinnati. That was a great experience, and we would have continued it, but Taylor got a big job, and so he had to take advantage of that great opportunity that he had. So it is something I think you guys really should consider. I think that you would actually appeal to young people and some of us that are a little bit more settled in terms of uh, having that opportunity. Um, yeah, I would think that would be great.
You know, Tony, what would be interesting is if we did something that sparked the imagination of a younger person that was going to a tech school or maybe their college radio station or university radio station to consider going into this as a career because we really lack technical people and talent coming up the ranks. It used to be no problem. We used to have lots of younger people coming through the ranks to go into radio as a career, but nowadays it's almost non-existent. And I know I'm speaking for Mark here. It's very hard to find technical people, and you're lucky enough to have some people that you, I guess, took from intern to hire as it goes. But it's
Yes.
not a thriving industry right now. I know Mark would probably disagree with me, but it's under a lot of pressure. That the business in general, maybe it can come around.
So I think it's interesting because in the chat, Vic Hernandez says kids don't have radios. And I take argument with that because kids have iPhones or Androids or whatever. They have phones. And those phones have apps. So is it really that they don't have radios, or is it that there aren't things on the radio that appeal to them? And by that I mean they're not they're not looking for what's on the radio. The other thing Mitch and I talked about the other day was that we're going from, not only are we transitioning from analog to digital and all the digital applications that come with it, but we're transitioning from what you would call scheduled broadcast to on demand broadcast. So the younger generations are used to just going to YouTube and watching whatever they want to watch whenever they want to watch it, as opposed to how we grew up, where you went to the TV guide and looked for what time the program you wanted to watch came on, and then you worked your schedule out so you could have free time to watch the program. Now they don't even consider that. I mean, many of them probably have never seen a TV guide. So
Yeah, a good example of that was like if there was a guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live that you really like and you're a younger viewer, you don't want to watch the whole show to get to that guest. You would much rather go to a YouTube short to see what their featured guest was like and just watch that because there's so many things vying for your attention and people only have so much bandwidth in their heads to be able to consume media. So media now is like on demand and get it in short little bits and bytes. So I could see radio programs that do a popular live and local radio show, talk show in the morning, but have guests on or talk about a certain subject. And then after the show's done, chop that up because they do have software and AI that will do that and offer that up on as a podcast just for the individual snippets that make sense. I think that's where people are going.
that's where people are going, but it's challenging because you don't want to eat into your existing revenue stream, which is based on advertising on the radio. If you offer too much off radio, then you're kind of eating your own commercials and revenue. So you have to figure out how does digital present enough revenue to survive? And that's the big challenge in both TV and radio right now.
Yeah, I think Stephen Colbert would agree with you there with CBS firing him, because it was an entertaining show.
Right.
But the idea of late night TV in a linear fashion, any kind of TV in a linear fashion is under examination. It's a problem. Tony.
Is it really a primarily local thing for radio to exist now because of the advertising?
Well, I think Mitch can correct me, but I think you have to go back to the FCC and how they set up radio stations. So you were licensed a signal that came off of a tower, and depending on how many watts that license allowed you to operate at, was the distance in which that signal would travel. So, in order for the radio station to have a business, they would seek local businesses, help them advertise and grow their brand, and play ads for them, and really become, as we are today, we're really a marketing company, not a radio station. We utilize radio as a way to get messages out, but we also utilize social media, we utilize digital. We can, if we want to, and somebody comes to us, we can find ways to get ads to go to certain zip codes through geolocation digital fencing allows us, or geofencing allows us to have certain ads pop up when a phone's in a certain place. There's all kinds of interesting things that are out there. But as you say, traditionally, radio was limited to a specific area because that's what the license allowed.
Tony, in the 90s, something started happening, and that was, first of all, the FCC lifted the limits that radio stations could be owned by a single entity, and all of a sudden, companies like Clear Channel was the name of the company, was able to purchase hundreds and hundreds of radio stations at bargain basement, or maybe not so bargain basement prices, at a time when radio was very popular. And what they would do, they would consolidate their broadcasting to be run by a corporate headquarters somewhere, and it homogenized radio, took a lot of the localism that was there in favor of saving money by having a very bland programming that worked everywhere in syndication or whatever else. So that sort of started a trend. And what's starting to happen, and I think Mark has a chance to cash in on this, is that people are getting tired of that. And with the competition of satellite and digital and alternative things like Pandora and Apple Music, et cetera, those companies, there's like, of the five big companies that own most of the radio stations, maybe 80% of the radio stations in North America, they're either have been in a bankruptcy or going into bankruptcy. It tells you something about how hard it is to run an operation where you're losing money because you did things that made sense in the 90s and don't make so much sense now. So I'm kind of the feeling, and this is optimism, that the idea that a mom and pa operation like Mark's is in Lower Delaware, that does live and local, is able to do something that the big guys can't do on a local basis. And Mark is doing a better job of serving his particular area, because radio is, again, geographically limited to the signal primarily. I mean, they could go on the internet and be everywhere. But for the most part, radio receiving is easy because you could, well, I was going to say punch it up on your radio dial, because you can't do that anymore. But, you can have a little radio or transistor radio or whatever it is that you have. It's just easier to get to it. So things are changing, and I think they might change for the worse for the big guys and better for the small guys like Mark that have a passion for live and local broadcasting.
Wow. You guys have already spoken to the next question, which was, what is the state of radio in 2026? So, just going along that path, I'm just curious. Do you guys know whether or not the option of getting low band radio stations still exists? I know at one time there was something that, you could acquire a low band radio station if you presented certain credentials in a specific area.
Tony, are you referring to LPFM, low power FM, not
I'm
low
sorry,
band?
I said low band. It's
That's
low
all right.
power.
I understand what you meant, low power. There's a limited number of frequencies that have available. The radio band is so tight, and in Atlanta where you are, it's very tight. But the FCC has opened a couple of windows for nonprofits to register for and get a low power or LPFM radio station. But unless you're in the middle of nowhere, it's very hard to do that. Around here, I did it for my high school, and it was extremely hard because of the shoehorning in of this 100-watt ERP radio station. So, there's a chance that could be helpful, but that's just adding to the congestion already on the on the band, as it were. What the FCC is starting to do now too is, if you own an AM radio station, you can get an FM translator, so the AM stations can now compete a little better with their FM big brothers, but only for a certain small region where that transmitter may be. And the LPFMs are limited by the congestion already on the radio dial. Mark?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, you answered the question pretty thoroughly. There are low power FM stations, but what you have to remember is trying to scale down that business model so that you can make enough revenue to still offset the cost of running a station. Even if it's low power, that means it can only go so far.
Well, LPFM are non-commercial, nonprofit.
Right, but you have
Fund.
to you still have to have money to have the
Yeah,
operation
you
be
have to raise
successful.
money.
You got to raise money, and so you can. It's going to be difficult to raise money outside your least listening area. And what's a low power FM reach? About 5 miles, 6 miles.
If that.
Yeah. So you have to understand that that radius is smaller. There's not as many people that are going to want to support the station in that
Yep.
small area.
Could you marry a low powered radio station with the internet?
Sure, there's no reason why any radio station can simulcast on the internet, and as long as you're paying your music police fees for publishing and mechanical recordings, you can translate it over to and I'm sure Mark does that with his stations. He has an app that allows him to simulcast his WGMD anywhere in the world.
Right. So we simulcast both WGMD and WUSX on our
Sure.
website.
Wow, very cool. Has AI been a benefit to what you're currently doing on the last Angry DJ show?
I'm notoriously anti AI. I don't believe it's messing with my my business models for my personal life. Doing voiceover work on the side, AI is taking that over. Doing video production and audio production, any kind of web design, forget about it. By the way, if you're graduating from college, do not become a web designer. Do not become a coder. All those jobs are being taken over by AI. And if there's a job out there that can be done by an AI, it's going to take it over. Sorry. That's my opinion.
Mitchell, I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit. And this is why. At this moment, AI, in terms of creating graphics and coding, is, I think, fantastic. I think it's great. However, if a person does know coding, if a person is a graphic designer and they have the skills, they are able to tweak the AI in a way that is more beneficial to their customer. And so I think that they, at this point, they can work together. And so I'm just a little disagreement with you.
If it was in style to stick my tongue out at you, Tony, or do some other annoying thing, I would. I mean, as a graphic designer, which is another area that I'm getting beat up on, AI can be helpful. You're right. If you can learn to be a better prompter of AI because you have the background in a particular area, I can see the benefits there. But doing my work faster for less money is not my objective. Mark, you were going to say something.
So I'm going to just say that I don't think there's any way to avoid AI. Everywhere I turn, AI has intruded itself into even web browsers. So you're in the web browser and up pops something saying, "Hey, I can help you out here. I can do this." So even the software that we utilize for our contacts, for our radio traffic, for all of the things to manage the sales side of the office has AI built into it. So it will literally it will literally tell you all the businesses in a certain area that do certain things. It will provide you with all the contact information. It will then go look for all the competition to those businesses and write a whole branding process for you. So it will help you in your meetings bring out all the challenges that that business has because it can do research so quickly. And then
The
it will
comments
build.
made by Mark Giuliani do not necessarily represent those of Mitch Hill or Tony Mobley's conversation.
I'm just telling you
Sorry.
what's out there and what's coming with the software that
You're
you utilize
editorializing
in a
there,
station.
Mark. Come on.
Anyway, so they
See,
then
that's
will
how I am.
build you branding plans and help those businesses grow. So I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. It's not at the point where it's ever going to be able to run a talk show, I don't think, because it's not going to know enough about the personalities. It's not. I mean, it's going to be years before they have computers that powerful.
I agree. I agree. So, so I'm just curious when someone calls the radio station, Mark, Do they
Hmm.
get an AI?
When they call the radio station, in what capacity?
F-
Do they call to be on
Just,
the
just
air? Do they call to
no, no,
call the
no, no.
business
I'm
office?
saying if someone, the business office, if they call the
No,
business
we have a
office,
live receptionist, and she answers the phone, and she directs people to the right call line if they're accidentally calling the business line instead of the studio line. And so
Whatever her name is, look for another
Sandy.
job. Your days are numbered
No,
at
they're not
Mark's Place.
numbered. Like, she is the keystone of the whole station. So
No doubt.
that's fantastic. Okay, gentlemen, we are getting down to the end here. And the next question is, what's next for you gentlemen personally and for the last Angry DJ?
Let Mark take this one first, and then I'll get my 2 cents in.
what's next for me personally? Well, personally, I am looking forward to more questions on this Sunday's upcoming episode of The Last Angry DJ so that I can do my job and read the questions. Mitch, over to you.
I'm looking forward to retirement, but my problem is I didn't prepare for retirement. So what's next for me is to try to find a side hustle. I think you need to reinvent yourself every 10 years, and I'm kind of at that point where I need to find something that would allow me to put food on the table, keep my dog properly entertained, and I'm thinking tiny house. I'm thinking a tiny house down in lower Delaware so I can get closer to Mark's radio station. And if they do something I don't like, I can go and protest out front of his station. So, tiny house, some kind of side hustle that's AI proof, and yeah, that's it. My radio days are numbered, and luckily I'm 71. I think there's a reason that we get old and things happen. We clear the way for the younger people to move in. So there I am.
What is AI proof, Mitch?
What is AI? What proof?
Yeah, what is AI proof in these
Oh, AI
times?
proof.
Yes.
Something that it can't do. It can't serve food at a restaurant. So far, it can't create a nice meal. There are things that yes, AI can do better than people, and as long as that is true, their AI is going to be taking over those jobs. But I don't think of AI as something. Not to take a whole hour talking about it. I don't think AI is something like Skynet in Terminator is going to come in and take over. I think we're going to give AI a little more of ourselves every day to do a job that we don't like to do anymore. And eventually we're just going to sit back and what are we going to do for a living? When AI is going to be taking all that work from us, maybe doing a talk show. Well, it's all an avatar, deep fake. I just begin to wonder what the future of humanity is when we give too much of ourselves away to AI. I just say it's a cautionary tale. Please be careful.
And that will be another conversation with Tony Mobley in the future. Stay tuned because I think that's a great subject. You are speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
There's three things that I love to tell young people. One of them is stay away from high fructose corn syrup. It's bad for you. It will kill you. So that's one of my major points of view. It's something you're not thinking of because you're young and invulnerable and nothing seems to affect you. When you get to be my age and you start dancing with diabetes, you're going to have problems. So things with artificial sweeteners, especially high fructose corn syrup. I know, Tony, you're in the land of Coca-Cola, but sorry about that. That's my first complaint. And then the next one that I'd like the world to know is loud noises and loud headphones. Please, loudness is not a good thing because eventually you're going to end up with a condition called tinnitus or tinnitus, however you like to pronounce it. I have it because when I was a radio DJ, I had my Pro 4 AA's on my head, extremely loud, playing like crazy. And I forget the third thing that I was going to mention. Let me just give Mark a little time.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, always with the negative ways.
With the
So,
negative waves. That's from
all right,
Kelly's
listen,
Heroes.
to counter that, I will say if you're starting out out of college looking for a job, or even out of high school looking for a job, follow your passion, because then what you do as a job will not be work. It will be something you love to do, and you can put up with all the rules and regulations you have at a job and still find fun in what you do. So my suggestion is find something you're very interested in, study it, use AI to read about it and learn about it and test it, and then just follow the passion, and you'll remain happy through your life.
And if you want to make a lot of money, um, become a lawyer for intellectual property. I think there's going to be a giant battlefield over that, especially with what's going on with AI. And the other thing is stop the coding. Coding's not going to get you anywhere, but maybe you can learn to be a prompter, learn to be a better prompter. That would get you somewhere in today's world.
And when can our audience watch The Last Angry DJ?
We record live, like your show, on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that's 2 p.m. Pacific. We do it via Zoom to YouTube. What did I do wrong?
5
7.
p.m. Eastern.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not 5 p.m. Eastern. Is it?
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes,
am
it is.
totally used. Don't give me any job of keeping
It's
a
past
calendar
Mitch's
going.
bedtime.
Yeah, Mark, why don't you tell them when they can? Mark, you answer the question. Forget what I just said.
You can watch us on YouTube at The Last Angry DJ. You can ask questions at ask.thelastangry.dj. And we're on at 5 o'clock. That's when we start. And we tend to go on and run long until 6:15, sometimes 6:30. So that's when we're on Sunday nights. Come join us live or watch us on demand on YouTube.
And yeah, and
Thank you.
then you can listen after the fact, Tony. You can you can see the YouTube show that we recorded, sometimes with extraneous commentary from me, edited out for the benefit of younger ears, and we enjoy doing it. So thank you.
And Alex
And
takes
you're
a lot of time to prepare
Yeah, he does.
all of the audio versions for the different podcast platforms. So you can listen
Hi,
to the
Alex.
show on many different platforms.
and you also have a website as well, thelastangrydjs.com. Is that right?
I believe so.
And indeed, and I think you have a lower third that you can pop up there that explains that. So you can see it. And the other thing is, if you want to ask a question on Mukana, you can do it right now if you want. You can go to ask.thelastangry.dj.com. But that's the website right there that you see right now under us. And we'd love to have you come and visit us and see what we're about. And don't forget to hit subscribe like you do on Tony's show.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Tony.
We appreciate you so much for being here today. And we just want to say to our audience, please check out The Last Angry DJ. You can watch Conversation with Tony Mobley at our website or on YouTube. Our website is conversationwithtonymobley.com. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Claude Lopez Waterman. Our current team includes Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, and Mickey McAture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, team. Thank you, Mimo Live and Zoom, for making this broadcast possible. We have conversations with real people. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We want to thank everyone for our nearly 200 plus conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. And when you have time, we ask that you go back and look at some of our past conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We think you will find something that you like and hopefully is helpful to you. Thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank
being
you,
a
Tony.
part of our conversation today and for being the people who you are and for doing the work that you do. Next week, Gary B. Jr. is back,
All right.
the free show evangelist. This is going to be part 2, and you don't want to miss it. There is going to be some information about things that you can get for free show that are free. And I'm not just talking about the presentation software. There is a component to it that's free that you really, really want to take advantage of. Please feel free to support Conversation with Tony Mobley by volunteering or donating to keep Conversation with Tony Mobley running. You can donate on our website. We ask that you please like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube. We want to keep getting better. Thank you so much. We're going to ask you to continue to support Conversation with Tony Mobley and the importance of having great conversations. Take care. God bless you. See you soon. Bye-bye.